My phone's a little messed up. I didn't know if it was going to work or not. Um, I moved from the hotel out into a wooded area, into a tent. So I'm living back in my teepee again. And that makes it to where, as I panhandle, I can hopefully buy a couple things that I need instead of just giving all my money to the hotel. And with my time here and out there in the cold, cruel world, I spend a lot of time watching everybody's videos that they make for me. Even though they're rude and they misrepresent the situation, and I wouldn't even say it like that if I thought it was an accident, but I know that they're being like that deliberately. And so how it came to be that these tarot readers were talking to me. I am a Christian. I do believe in God. I follow Jesus. I follow the New Testament. I don't sit around and cry about how I think that the book is missing parts and pieces and all of that. I've gone through that before. I have studied all of that. I'm a little bit ate up with mosquitoes, so you might hear me like, it's bad. It's bad. So anyways, divining has been a part of my life since I was a baby, toddler age. And I was taught to use a pendulum. And divining is different than witchcraft and sorcery and all that. It's different than witchcraft. Witchcraft is different than magic. Magic is different than divining. There's kind of a lot to it. Divining is actually looking to the divine for divine answers, which would be God. Even though lots of people can divine, and they can divine using, their spirit guides, whoever that is, or their ancestors, or their, demonic forces, or whatever. They can divine using a number of different trolls, but real divining has to do with receiving messages from the divine. Anyways, all that gets a little bit complicated, so I'm not getting into it too much. I am 100% against witchcraft. I'm absolutely against witchcraft. I think that it's one thing to know of things, to understand all of that. I think it's a complete other to use it. It's one of those things that God says is a very big no-no, in the Bible. And there's a really, really big, good reason for that. I got to learn why that is as a teenager. And unfortunately, that's not the same way everybody else gets to learn. And because I was supposed to be this, sweet little sacrificial lamb sacrifice, I started out as a little toddler being like, I want to be a witch. I want to be a witch. I want to be a witch. Every Halloween that rolled around, and just in general, I was like, I want to be a witch. And I was just obsessed with it, right? I was like, that's who I am. That's what I want to be. That's what I choose for my whole life. I want to be a witch. And everybody was like, no, you can't be a witch. No, everybody was like, no, you can't be. And secretly, they were all witches and warlocks and Luciferians who had selected me to be different than everybody else, to be, the special lamb, like I said. And so it was a real struggle for them to not let me become the same thing as them, because I was so adamant about it. And then as a teenager, they would send me to a witch who would teach me some witchcraft, and basically enough to let me know that people didn't really want me around, and that they could very easily use magic to traumatize and do all kinds of things to me. And so by the age of, 13 or 14, I was done with magic and witchcraft because of the trauma that they introduced to me while teaching me witchcraft and magic. And I was like, oh, wow, this is all really real, and all that they have been able to produce for me with all of this is pain and trauma and, like, shock. And I guess they didn't want me to be involved in any of this. So, and it's all very real. So I guess that, I don't really want to work for this side. I felt better just, going to church. And I didn't even like church. And church was better than, and they could have made it cool. They could have made learning magic and witchcraft cool, but they made sure that they made it a really, really nasty, horrible, traumatizing process that I would not really be interested in returning to. Well, in the process of all that, at about 11, I was introduced to tarot, which is also a divining method. It can be used in witchcraft just like anything else. You can use a doorknob in witchcraft, okay? You can use anything. But tarot cards can be a tool that are used in witchcraft and magical related practices. However, the cards themselves are a tool, a divining tool, divining method. And it's not the cards that are magical or whatever, though I'm sure you could make anything magical. It's not the cards that see, it's the user that sees. And I was always very careful. There were certain things that I didn't allow in my house, certain items that I didn't allow in my homes, especially at certain times when I felt most vulnerable. So at certain times, people would bring things into my house, and I'd be like, man, I even wanted some of those, and I didn't get them because I have to make sure that those kinds of items aren't in my house, And but sometimes, just straight out of the blue, I would feel called, strangely enough, by the good Lord to watch certain videos on YouTube and to look up to put certain things in the search engine and to investigate certain things and to learn about certain things. And that's all through the internet. Google it or look DuckDuckGo it, or I don't know. Just I would get these prompts to research things and learn and investigate things, which was all I really could do because I was kind of being held captive, kind of. But I had to pretend that I didn't know that I was being held captive. It was a really weird situation. And really, through this God guidance, I ended up learning about astrology. I ended up learning about natal charts. I ended up learning about demonology. I ended up learning about just all manner of things while I was just stuck to sit in place like that. I learned a great deal, and I even had some supernatural situations during which and so different times it would be like I might be allowed to watch other people doing it, but I wasn't allowed to touch the cards yet, or try to order any, or do it yet, or have them in my house yet, or let anyone know anything about it yet. It was like supposed to be just this secret and a way that God was teaching me about divination and prophecy and omens and the difference between the prophets of Baal and the prophets of the Lord, seers, psychics, mediums. He was teaching me all of that. He was teaching me about witches. He was teaching me all different things that I didn't entirely have access to or experience with fully. Like, I had some experience with it, but not enough. And there were a lot of things that it seemed like I knew it. You know what I mean? Because when someone is isolated from everyone and everything, they almost become feral in a way. If they weren't already a little bit. There's like that part of somebody, if it's like if they're kept their whole life, there's little parts and pieces of that person that are going to be different. Underdeveloped. Feral is a pretty good word. But anyways, there's like a lot of information that the other side wanted me to know, and I was totally excited to learn all of that. So it was just like, and that was just like how it was for a really long time. It's just like constantly just like learning new things and then getting on the internet and reading about them. It's really fascinating. And then, like, the more that you know, the more that you can learn, and the faster that you learn, the faster that you can learn. It's just crazy. But anyways, I was really keeping it all to myself. And it wasn't just like divining. It was all different kinds of metaphysical and supernatural phenomenon. And I tried to keep track of every little tiny thing. And especially as far as all that goes. And I one time even sat down and tried to write a book about it all. And as I was compiling it, I ended up having a really weird experience with what I thought was fairies for the first time. That they came in and they were like reading my my compilation that I'd started of my supernatural experiences and stuff. The fairies were straight reading it, or that's what it seemed like, dude. We're not going to go there right now. But anyways, I didn't want any of the churchy people that I knew, or the Christian-y people that I knew, or people that I thought were Christian. They're pretending to be Christian, basically. I didn't want any of them to think that I was like a witch, or to like what is it called? Oh, reject me or whatever, or think of me any kind of way. So I'd like keep that kind of stuff kind of on the down low from them. But it wasn't something that I did the whole time. I mean, off and on here and there, but it wasn't like, I don't know. But I noticed that in the videos that through time, the readers were becoming more and more specific, and they became so specific that I started to consider that they very well could be people who were either involved with the government, or people who were involved with the people who were stalking me and had access to all of my my web history and everything. And like, for the longest time, I knew everybody had access to everything, and that they were just constantly doing everything, throwing everything that they could at me. And I just tried to strive through it anyways. Sometimes it was really bad, really the worst. Like, nobody in this day and age in this nation should have been going through what we went through. But that wasn't what I was trying to talk about. So yeah, here and there it seemed like people were totes talking to me, and they were kind of letting me know things, that other things were going on behind the scenes, which was exactly what I was turning to the tarot anyways. And no one even had to be talking directly to me, and they probably weren't for the greatest deal, or you know what I mean, for the in the beginning of things. But so I learned to use my phone for divining, and for like other like kind of supernatural stuff. Um, like I was saying, I was kind of alone for a long time and just kind of like stuck. And I knew like I kind of know like all this weird like supernatural stuff, and I'd like to learn more. But I would just kind of be stuck with my phone. And so I learned how to use my phone for psychic, and prophetic related, spiritual related. And mind you, I'm also someone who spent years listening to sermons, like sermons, from the time that I woke up to the time I went to sleep at night. My favorites are Stephen Furtick, Jerry and Tanisha Flowers, and Mark Driscoll. I don't agree with just everything, but Mark Driscoll's a good one. And then there's like also these goofy little biblical channels that I really liked, like Lion of Judah and Grace for Purpose. And then there's another one, can't even remember. Anyways, there's all these like, super dorky preachers and yeah, so I've gotten like really into the Bible, sermons, churchy pie, all of that. But I was still forced into isolation, and they kind of made sure that all of the churches that I was connected to were connected to bad guys, and they were kind of fake. And there's kind of bad stuff going on connected to all of them, and it really sucks to be deceived by preachers and churches. It's very sad. And then, like, a few years ago, I got in a gut run from my one of my hometowns, which was Buchanan, West Virginia. And I kind of ended up in let me rewind that just for a second. I was in New York months prior to that, and someone came up on my news feed, and I immediately had this sense that that was someone who was related to my situation, and that I needed to block their channel because I was in an unsafe place to be getting videos from them. So I blocked their channel, but then I was watching another channel, and it almost seemed like there could be investigators, is what she said, listening. And then within a few months, it kind of seemed like my kid and I were being trafficked by the police, and we were like stuck in this hotel, and like there were a bunch of different tarot readers who were like new and different, with like really kind of better backgrounds. I don't know. It was like, I don't know. And they were all talking like about your family stealing your inheritance, which was something that happened to me. It was like the titles to the videos were directed to me. They were like, hey, we know that the cops are trafficking you right now. And yeah, all of these videos came up on my YouTube feed. And, you know, so I started listening to all of these people who seemed like they were delivering me messages during a time of crisis. And they were just going on and on about how people were going to get in so much trouble for what was going on. And I expected them to just be like busting in the door, like rescuing me. And then, like, I really was waiting for people to come to my door back then. And like, that was a couple years ago, and nobody showed up. And I even had my kid still then. Like, I did a whole lot to make sure that, like, um, yeah, I made it last as long as I could, dude. Like, I fucking waited it out, dude. But anyways, so I've just had these YouTubers and these tarot readers, and then there's prophetic speakers, and then there's been other ones that have come up who are Christian channels and Joker channels and other stuff like that, and it is stuff that is like directed to me. It's like, or you know, and directed maybe to a few other people who are going through the same situation. You know, it'll like to help the other people out that are sort of, but no, it's fucking shit was directed to me, which has been kind of weird. Like, it hurts because, like, I want it to be like, you would want it to be people who are like rooting for you and on your side and wanting to encourage you and stuff. But, you know, that might not be what it all is, of course. And I knew that from the very beginning. Like, I was actually like completely mortified. I actually had amnesia at the time, and I'd made it really far, like I said, and I was like in that hotel, and my kid was there and stuff like that. And then like they came up over the thing talking to me, and like, it was all completely different than the normal channels and the normal videos. Like, there was tarot before they came on, and then there was like tarot after. It's been just like something completely different. Like, I have a really hard time even finding, and it's changed all of the tarot entirely to where it's difficult to find a tarot reader or a tarot video that is untainted by that reprogramming of the tarot community, the tarot collective community, or whatever. Anyways, I do not give two fucks about anybody's questioning of my mental health. You guys are the ones who fucking evaluated me over and over again. You told me that there were no signs of mental illness and that I had a fucking high IQ. And you've repeated it since then. So, you know, don't give that kind of fucking diagnosis if you don't really fucking mean it, you know? No, I'm not gonna fucking listen to people bullshit me later. If you give me those kinds of nice ass fucking diagnoses, then how the fuck am I gonna keep that shit on the DL, man? That's fucking hot. That's sweet. That's exactly what we wanted to fucking hear. Nah, but I'm a dork though, for real. And anyways, there's a bunch of different ones, and they all were quite entertaining to begin with. And then there would be different stuff that would happen along the way that would basically, I think that they were either all paid by the same group or they're all working for different groups. They're all paid by different peoples and organizations, and they represent different whatever, but for the most part, they're releasing they've let me know a lot of shit. Like that there was a fucking camera in my eye. You know what I mean? Nobody came and gave me paperwork about that. It took Kuan Yin telling me about 20,000 fucking times. there was a camera in my eye before I was like, motherfucker, I know that there's a fucking camera in my eye. That's gotta be what the fuck. Then I had to fucking figure out how to put a fucking eye patch on. And, so, you know, and then I've also, anyways, I've gone through a lot as far as all that is concerned. I didn't expect that I was going to be listening to these videos as long as I have. They like to use occult phrases, and their tarot takeover that they kind of did. Whenever they came out to be like, oh, we're here to help you, even though they didn't, like, I mean, like, I'm not sure if they helped me or not. And I definitely got attacked one time. They said they definitely all worked together. Like, the ones that I was watching, like, there was one Thanksgiving that they all worked together to, like, be really deceptive to me, or to set me up to... Anyways, it was super fucked up. They're like... It was really bad. And I ended up having to, like, run away from where I was, and I'm not sure that there wasn't, like, some kind of, like, I'm not sure that there wasn't some kind of, like, surgical procedure or some kind of, like, violation that was committed against me. Like, it was really, really bad. I could, like, barely walk. It was so fucking bad. And then I ended up, like, going from one trafficking farm. I had to escape from that one. And then I ended up in some completely different fucking trafficking farm 2 other states away within a matter of only, like, 4 or 6 hours or something like that. And I was so bad off from how bad I got hurt, from how everybody set me up to get hurt and stuff like that, that, like, I couldn't even get out of that house as quickly as I needed to. I couldn't get out of that situation as quickly as I needed to. And I was, like, stuck in this place where people were getting fucking hurt really bad downstairs, and I was, like, having to hear it every once in a while. And I kept falling asleep, dude. It was the worst thing ever, dude. Like, I kept falling asleep. It was, like, 4 days like that. And I woke up to the people that are fucking stalking me and shit like that standing in the doorway, and fucking somebody was being brought in a sleeping bag. And I'm not going to tell you anything more, because that's too scary for certain people. That I'm not trying to scare nobody. Life has become very scary. I guess it was scary all along. That sucks really bad. People try to make it scary when they could make it paradise. It's totally unnecessary and stupid. People are fucking stupid, man. It's a complete waste of time and life. Money and resources and life and people, and it's just such a waste. Jeez. Anyways. And so it ended up being that the only way I was going to get details on, like, information related to a court case that people were trying to prevent me from making it to, was if I watched these videos. But simultaneously, as I watched these videos and was given these little Easter eggs of information, I was also messed with psychologically in so many different ways, and told things that people probably could have waited and, like, we could have maybe talked about this shit in person. Nobody was interested in bringing me information in person. Of course, nobody was interested in breaking anything to me easy or whatever. I was just, like, I guess, set up as this fucking villain, who just nobody had any respect for, and nobody was going to help, and nobody was going to defend or protect. And, you know, it really sucks to be brought up in a nation where, from the time I'm very young, that I'm saying I pledge allegiance to the flag, and I think that I'm in a free country, and I'm just in the home of these fucking brave-ass motherfucking soldiers, and these fucking cops who just fucking show up, fuck any demon up who they catch underneath your bed and shit like that. And fucking, you know, as a kid, I thought people had shit under fucking control, and that they actually did give a fuck. about, like, making sure that, like, people were safe and that society was safe and shit like that, and that people really didn't go through, like, atrocities, and that, like, as a kid, growing up, I watched the fucking air conditioner fucking place give air conditioners away for free in Amarillo, Texas. You know what I mean? Like, people were dying left and right, sure. But the air conditioner places still give air conditioners away for free, like, all summer long. And we watch all these movies, and we're, exposed to all this media where we're shown that life matters so much. But life doesn't really matter to everyone that much. It doesn't, it's only money or entertainment to them. Anyways, what I end up being is someone who has a prophetic mantle, who operates under the office of prophet or prophetess, because I'm a female. I could also call myself just prophet if I wanted. I mean, I don't know why I would want, but I do sometimes. It just happens like that. I also have some occult and magical information. I even know some witchcrafty information. I'm well-rounded as far as, like, basic understandings of other religions. I've learned a little bit more about, unfortunately, Luciferianism over the last couple of years of listening to y'all's videos. I'm not sure really how long it's been. I'd have to sit down and add it up. It's been either 2 or 3 years since I've been listening to y'all. And that, I guess, is what they are chalking up to being a part of the Biden persecution of Christians, which has been going on far before Biden, but apparently during the Biden administration, it got pretty bad. It definitely got pretty bad for me, but it was bad for me before that too. But it did, I've kind of just been, I was made homeless and just left out on the streets and just completely fucking ignored from state to state, and just left to my own. Well, people have allowed me to be attacked and monitored and surveilled, and energy harvested from, and harassed, and moved around, and blocked and barricaded and oppressed, and basic slavery shit. But now things have gone from tarot and seeing, and they're, what felt like to me, there being a code between God and I that other people couldn't understand. If it's a picture that I'm looking at, if it's an image that I'm looking at, what I may feel or comprehend or think of, or what that image may trigger within me, maybe that's something that only God and I would know or understand. And if I kept my mouth shut, maybe nobody would understand what that meant or how important that was. Do you understand how I'm saying that it can be a code? How maybe same thing, kind of speaking in tongue. It's supposed to be a language that only God, only Holy Spirit understands, so that, no little demons or, douchebags can hear your prayer and hurry and run and try to be the sick fulfillment of that prayer, or prevent that prayer from being answered, depending on how they choose to, for example, if I'm like, oh God, please help me to get the cookies that I want, And then they send Mary Poppins with a basket of fucking cookies that, she put arsenic in. And here's the cookies. Oh, what a coincidence. Serendipity. Oh, synchronicity. I just prayed for these cookies. Ooh. And, here I chomp down my arsenic cookies and I fart real bad, for a couple days. And people are like, damn it, she's not fucking dead yet, motherfucker. So, yeah, in my watching of the tarot, I noticed that they weren't using any of the Christian or biblical terminology, which kind of showed me even more that I was in the middle of some really bad Christian persecution. But I didn't realize that they were just going to maintain that the entire way through. And that it's like they include the God stuff. They are afraid to use the word prophet or prophetess because they're afraid of offending the Islamic viewers. I don't think it's that offensive that God would speak to you, or that God would still be speaking to us. There's absolutely nothing offensive about that. And in fact, if you think that it would be offensive that God would speak to you, I could see where that would be a real problem for God. I mean, how is he gonna communicate with you if he's limited by your... I'm sorry, I mean, you can't be mad at me. I can't ask questions. Nobody's allowed to ask questions here. Anyways, you guys all have your own channels where you're allowed to say anything. And you're allowed to say anything you want to offend me. You send people to offend me all the time for nasty little energy harvesting campaigns. And that's the way it's been my whole life. So, if you're triggered, then... But anyways, now they're like, you're a high priestess. And, I don't consider myself a high priestess. I mean, if that's the code that you guys want to give me because you're afraid to admit what the fuck's going on, and everything that you're doing is code anyways, and tarot being code is really cool. I mean, it's actually... I'm not going to get into that. But I do love code. We're not going to go there right now. But yeah, a life in which I 100% was turning to God and only had God, and knew the word of God, and then was allowing God to teach me some metaphysical and supernatural things, some wonders, what I felt were... I mean, it's been a pretty miraculous journey as far as I'm concerned. And it may have helped me to find a way to bridge a gap. To convert people and save people that I wouldn't have had access to otherwise. And that, for the most part, is already done and accomplished. Because as a Christian, if I can sit down with a set of tarot cards with a witch, and I can use those tarot cards, and I can speak to that witch from God and give her information from God, she can either take it or leave it, but she's gonna know that that shit is fucking real. Anyways, those were just little things that I went through, but I had to learn all these different languages. As far as that goes, I can understand if everybody just had to keep everything on the DL, do it all code and stuff like that. But I it's I, I think that it's really lousy that more occulty related stuff has been glorified in this situation, especially the Gnostic idea of the womb being the secret, the female womb being the God's secret power on earth. There's just a lot of Gnostic related and Freemason, Eastern Star related stuff. And I kind of had an idea that the Eastern Stars and Freemasons were behind making a lot of the different videos, because of course, like, the people who are doing it, if the Illuminates and everybody involved with them, are behind making videos, then yeah, that's what I'm gonna. So, I feel like that it's like then a lot of people who, they're so adamant about impressing their ideas upon me and letting me know every little detail of their stuff, which I kind of already knew a lot of, believe it or not. But those same people, it seems like they're not as willing and able to actually go through and, maybe look back through that very simple little book at the end of the Bible, that New Testament, you know what I mean? Like, hey, maybe you should read that again. Maybe that wouldn't hurt. Yeah, but as far as things being made public, I would definitely not want to be known as a high priestess, because I want nothing to do with the occult, Freemasonic, Eastern Star, trafficking cult. I want nothing to do with that. And I do not want a title that represents the occult. I am a quite gifted prophet, prophetess, and that means that I'm going to have lots of different God-given abilities. If I was born psychic, if I was born gifted, that's cool. A lot of people are born gifted and psychic. It shouldn't mean that they should be targeted from birth, whether they're prophets or psychics, but we've seen all throughout history, especially in the Bible, where there's a repeating of people being targeted because they could be chosen for whatever reason. They're the prophets, and there's some prophecies of some future prophets that kind of show up and fuck shit up. And everybody's always trying to figure out who those guys are going to be. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to be guys. Pretty sure they're going to be guys. But yeah, just because I've been watching this shit and allowing you guys to talk to me using your language doesn't mean that I would ever want to actually accept that title of High Priestess or any of those occult titles. None of that would ever be any honor to me at all. It would be a lesser title than the rank that I actually have. Anything occult related would be a lesser rank than the one that I actually have. Don't get it twisted. And there's a reason for that. Well, at first I thought it was code. And then later I realized that they were actually going to replace me with someone who was more occult knowledge. They were more knowledgeable in the occult. And they weren't knowledgeable like me in the Bible, which really... So, just to set the record straight, I was someone who was watching sermon after sermon after sermon. I probably watch more sermons than just as much sermons as preachers, pastors. And I can guarantee you that that's where a lot of pastors are getting their sermons from, is from the internet. Because I used to go to church like 5 times a week, and I don't know how many times I've heard a pastor tell a sermon that I watched on the internet. And I actually know and really love God. And I really love holiness. I really love the spirit of holiness. And I dig these warrior angel dudes. And I really like the good side. And I love righteousness. And I have never been good enough for it. But I get really upset about douchebags and people who commit injustices against innocent people. And you know what? Not everybody gets upset about things like that. There's people who love shit like that. So anyways, I just wanted to make a video because I knew people were excited, because I've been real quiet. And also, I was just wanting to say that even though you guys try to offend me all the time with your occult stuff and your Buddhist stuff, and I never was offended by Buddhist stuff. Like, I always thought the Buddhist stuff was like almost like a bridge between everything. I never realized that you could use Buddhism to insult and misrepresent and bully other religions. Like, that's been really fucking wild. But anyways, I liked and didn't like each one of the people that were talking to me. And so that was kind of unfortunate. And that's just kind of how it's been through my whole life. Because people have only allowed me to deal with ops. Yeah, and I'm also... Like, if y'all would have, like, pulled me out of this stuff pretty much any time... Well, no, I'm not gonna say that, because I was even, like, wondering about this stuff back then. I was like, there might have been a few points that if y'all would have pulled me out during those, that I would have let you call me a high priestess or whatever. I would have let you call me a number of different things. I didn't care. I just wanted to be pulled off the fucking streets and out of the heavily bullying and harassment fucking situation you guys had me in. And like Hunger Games bullshit or whatever, which I'm not sure why you even dragged it on as long as you did and have. I mean, I understand that, you know, life doesn't, of course, matter to everyone else as much as it does to the person who's, you know... It's also weird to be given, like, a flood of information by all these different people, and it's like, if I actually sit... Like, there was one point that, for the longest time, I was watching, like, anywhere between 5 and 10 hours worth of these videos every single day. And, really, really trying to get a handle on what was going on, because I was given so much information, and I already had so much information, but there was still, like, gaps and empty stuff, and people were still not being, like, completely real. And it's really unfortunate to me that people didn't let me know back then the stuff that they've only just let me know within the last couple months or whatever. Like, that is actually really sad to me. People could have let me know all that before now. Well, before now. But on the same hand, I'm glad that people are letting me know anything at all. And I'm glad that if there were people watching at all who took any mercy on me, or if there were actually any good guys ever behind the scenes who actually did want things to turn out okay. I would be thankful for those people, but I don't know that there were ever those people, or if people were just like forced to do their jobs even though they didn't want to, or like, I don't really know. Like, it seems like there would have had to have been good people behind the scenes who really wanted there to be like righteousness, or who really wanted for lives to be saved, or who really wanted for things to change. But I'm not sure that even all of those people fully understand the situation. And I have always been fully understanding of differences in people's religious preferences. You guys have watched me as a Christian chill with all different walks of life and people in the time frame that people have been watching me. So I'm not really understanding why everybody thinks that it's so important to be like really bashy and like seem really controlling with their spirituality, like acting like they're shoving their spirituality down my throat, whenever I've never fucking been like that. Like, but in a way, I guess I kind of am. Like, if just not the same way you guys are. Like, if and I actually haven't heard any of you guys say that there isn't a God. Like, whether it's a witch that I'm listening to, or it's just a diviner or a psychic, or somebody who's just using the cards to send a message, and they're not psychic at all. They're just using it for code and sending messages. Like you guys kind of act like the old Southern Baptists or the Catholics with it. Like, you're like cramming it. You're like, you have to learn Luciferianism. No, these are our rules, and you have to go by our rules and shit like that. And it's like, honestly, you should be glad that the whole world doesn't go by your rules, dude. Like, if the whole world followed the 48 laws of power and no one gave a fuck about anything you said, you had to be fucking juggling or pulling tarot cards or fucking showing scripture on the bottom of the screen or something in order to be interesting at all. Anyways, just letting you know you were dorks, and you're still dorks, and just kind of showing up for a second. I've been tenting it out. I've been like a little troll, a little monster in my tent, my teepee, just being like kind of lazy and stuff. And yeah, hopefully within the next couple days I'll have some new boots. It's really exciting. I got a couple new pairs of these weird cloggy shoes, and these cool like bone shoe things that I can wear in the river or the rain or whatever, or to stand on my ice, because I really like standing on ice. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it's so great. When it gets really, really hot, you just put ice all over the ground and stand on it. Oh, it's so good. Right. So, there's an update. I would have given you an update before, but the only thing that my life was before now was standing outside panhandling and making $75 a day to pay for a hotel room. And that was like all that I did all day. And I was like lucky to go back to my hotel room for a second. And like it became a drag. And I was like, I need things. I need more things than just in a hotel room every day. And I would like to do that. But anyways, I got out of the hotel and I've just been like, oh God, thank God I'm not having to pay money to a hotel every day. I'm just going to be really lazy. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. It's just been in the chill zone. And I guess there's someone in the woods making noise just because I'm making this video. And as soon as I'm done, they'll be gone. Mysteriously just vanishing. They've just been there the whole fucking time for like an hour. And I don't even give a fuck who it is. They're fucking retards. Anyways, cowabunga, dude. It's the fucking Blair Witch Project. Ooh. Alright. Yeah. Yeah, stalkers. I mean, that's the kind of shit that you have to deal with when, you know, there's no justice system. Yay. Or there is, but they're all traffickers and they all do magic. And no one knows the Bible anymore. They only know how to do magic. They only know how to cast spells. They don't know how to ask God's forgiveness for anything and accept their consequences and then live to give their own testimony and become famous in their own way, become infamous, be like those mobsters and gangster YouTubers who never thought that they'd live to see the day that they live after telling their secrets on YouTube. It could be you, but just want to be douchebags instead and follow me around and jump around in the woods behind me and try to intimidate me, because that's what you guys do every fucking time I try to make a fucking video. You just gotta show up and do something fucking retarded. Well, shit, I've given them like a fucking hour to show up and do something stupid. Alright, well, we'll wait till it gets to an hour, because we're at 57. I can't believe that my phone's even let me record anything this long. I want to get my hair cut really, really bad. I heard that the salon ladies are waiting for me to come in. Yeah. Then there's also like somebody who pretends that they're trying to find me, and they looked for me for a second in Quartzsite, or they pretended to, or they just told people to say that they were looking for me, and they're supposed to be like in a blue SUV or something, and it's supposed to be some dude who's looking for me, and he was supposed to be looking for me a few days ago, or like a week ago, or something like that, or so they say. So it's basically someone who is trying to say that they came looking for me and couldn't find me, which is bullshit, because I'm very easy to find right at the moment. And of course I would be easy to find if you were one of the bad guys, because everybody's bad guys and everybody knows where I am all the time. And yeah. And I also heard that someone close to me who was important to me might have gotten kidnapped, but I have not received any confirmation as to whether or not that is true, but I think that it is. And so that's pretty freaky. And All right. Well, I guess I'll bid y'all good night.